this candidate appearance because we believe that access to a candidate's ideas is essential to an informed electorate. The views and opinions expressed here are solely those of the candidate.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Cain, and I'm running as a Libertarian candidate for U.S. Congress in Michigan's 16th District. I'm running against Democratic incumbent John Dingell. Tonight, I'll be urging you to send a message to the Democratic and Republican parties by casting your votes for third-party candidates when you go to vote on Tuesday, November 5th. And the message you will be sending is a call for new leadership that reflects the interests of Americans and not the interests of the multinational corporations. In addition to running for U.S. Congress, I am the editor of New Age Patriot, a quarterly magazine for drug, environmental, and social reform activists. It should not come as a surprise, then, that tonight's topic of discussion will focus on relegalizing marijuana and finding a way to end the drug war. Before getting started, I think it is important to find some points of agreement. I'm sure we can all agree that our children should be insulated against the allure of all drugs, including alcohol and tobacco. But let's recognize that the majority of Americans that drink an occasional beer or who occasionally smoke some cannabis are not drug addicts and do not pose a danger to society. They certainly don't deserve to lose their homes or go to jail or incur thousands of dollars in legal fees, as John Dingell would have them do. As a parent of 2 children, I am very concerned about age-inappropriate behaviors such as underage drinking. As a libertarian, I fully recognize that rights and responsibilities go hand in hand. But as an adult, I don't think the government has a legitimate role dictating which drugs responsible adults use in the privacy of their own homes. And as an American, I cannot tolerate politicians that are willing to subjugate our freedoms in order to prevent adults from making informed choices about the drugs and medicines that they consume. Unfortunately, Representative Dingell has crossed this line on more than one occasion. Up until now, people like Dingell have an easy time voting in tough-on-crime legislation such as the Omnibus Crime Bill of 1994. But Americans are beginning to wake up and realize that it is their sons and daughters that are going to jail for consensual activities such as smoking cannabis. Americans are beginning to recognize that when our prison population tripled between 1980 and 1990, the cost of maintaining and operating our state prisons increased tenfold. Only now are we beginning to realize that this has resulted in less money to educate our children. Americans are beginning to understand that the obscene drug profits, only possible in a black market economy, have turned local gangs into national crime syndicates and have corrupted police departments throughout this country. And to top it all off, a recent article in the San Diego News offers compelling evidence that our own CIA may have played a pivotal role in supplying cocaine and automatic weapons to LA drug gangs in the mid-'80s. This resulted in the greatest rise of violent youth homicide in this century. John Dingell's tough-on-crime stance may get him votes, but it doesn't make any sense when you begin to analyze the data. The better alternative is to provide objective education on the danger of all drugs for our children. The better alternative is to take the profit out of drugs through harm reduction initiatives. And the most logical first step is to make cannabis cultivation legal for adult Americans. Let's take the profit out of drugs. Ending the drug war is no longer restricted to misunderstood luminaries such as the Beatles and Timothy Leary. In the past 10 years, increasing numbers of intellectuals from across the political spectrum have called for an end to the drug war. Included in this group are former Secretary of State Schultz, federal Judge Sweet, and even the advice columnist known to readers as Dear Abby. While there are still a few Americans opposed to marijuana relegalization, such as Dingell, recent polls are showing increasing support among Americans of all ages and all walks of life. In fact, this November, the state of California will be voting on whether patients suffering from AIDS and other diseases will be allowed to cultivate their own marijuana for medical use. To illustrate the level of support amongst California voters, consider that over 800,000 signatures were gathered in order to place the initiative on the ballot. If you live in the 16th Congressional District of Michigan, or know somebody that does, I urge you to cast your vote for Bruce Cain for U.S. Congress when you go to the polls on November 5th. If elected, I promise that I will consistently put the interests of the American people ahead of the muddied multinational corporate interests that control our Congress today. Thank you.